The Awakeners Academy is holding its testing ceremony, and this isn't just some school event. Every student's strength and rank is about to be evaluated, laid bare for the entire academy to judge. The process leads into a chamber housing something unusual. A specially trained demon heart, built for one purpose. That heart absorbs whatever power a student feeds it, measures it down to the last drop, and spits back a reading of the student's energy level with brutal honesty. What gets displayed isn't just a rank, it's also a projection of that student's ceiling, their future, potential, broadcast for every professor and peer in the academy to witness. Most students shuffle out wearing the same expression. E ranks, no surprises, just quiet disappointment. A handful walk out proud, waving their D ranks results like a trophy, especially those flagged with high future potential. Then the crowd shifts, because the academy's top genius is stepping up next. Rich, connected, and heir to the most powerful guild around. This guy has never once doubted himself. Every eye in that room locks onto him, buzzing with anticipation to see what he's made of. He walks into the testing chamber radiating pure confidence. Not a single tremor, not one hesitation. In his mind, the result is already decided. He's going to shatter academy records and claim the #1 spot. He lets his power loose. Outside, his peers erupt, cheering before the numbers even load. The result lands. High-tier D ranks, with the potential to reach S ranks someday, genuinely impresses by any standard. His circle goes absolutely wild, pride practically oozing off them. To them, this arrogant heir just confirmed what they'd always believed. A rare talent, maybe once in a generation. One of his crew turns that celebration into mockery, laughing at the humble student waiting quietly nearby. Xi-chen, standing in line, unbothered. Next up, that friend is already convinced Xi-chen's turn will be nothing but public humiliation. Chen doesn't even glance back at him. He just steps forward, calm, unhurried, and walks into that chamber the same way everyone else did. Nothing unusual on the surface, except the demon heart doesn't treat him like everyone else. Because the moment he enters, that heart is scared. Xi-chen hasn't activated a single skill, hasn't done anything yet, and the heart already clocks him at high-tier D rank. Just from his passive presence alone, the room goes dead silent. Nobody breathes. That reading made no sense and everyone knows it. Then Chen reaches for his weakest skill card. A low-grade ability he devoured off a monster, practically scraps by most standards. He activates it and the rank climbs to C, just like that, smooth and effortless. The crowd outside is still trying to catch up mentally when Chen keeps going. No pause, no hesitation, like he's running through a checklist. A stronger class card comes out next and he switches in. The demon heart starts panicking, visibly, measurably. Like a machine overloading in real time. The moment that power releases fully into the chamber, a storm tears open in the sky above the academy. Out of nowhere, the rank display glitches, stutters, scrambles, and then settles on something that makes every professor in the building go cold. S-rank potential. Shock spreads through the faculty like a current. But the system isn't done, not even close. That single S multiplies, triple S-rank blazing across the display before anyone can process the first one. Then the entire system crashes, throwing an error message because it hit maximum load and had nowhere left to go. The professors aren't just shocked anymore, they're scared, and every one of them moves at once. They rush into the testing chamber, abandoning any pretense of procedure. What they find inside stops them at the door. The entire room is in ruins. The demon heart is damaged. It's fried. Completely irreversibly dead. Nothing in academy history has ever come close to this, so nobody has even a theory for what just happened. Meanwhile, Xi-chen strolls out of the wreckage like he just finished a light workout. Here's the part nobody knows yet. He actually devoured the demon heart afterward, after his own overwhelming power had accidentally destroyed it in the process. So who exactly is Xi-chen? And why does a student walk into a standard rank test and obliterate the measuring equipment? The answer goes back further than this academy. Because Chen is a regressor, someone who came back from a future so destroyed that the entire world had already fallen. Conquered completely by demons with no nation left standing. He was the last one, fighting alone for years while everything else collapsed around him. The only way it ended was when he finally reached the Demon King. And even then it cost him everything. He took that king out by self-destructing alongside him. Then he opened his eyes in his old dorm room, 10 years in the past. Confusion hits first. His brain genuinely can't rule out the possibility that this is some version of the afterlife. He moves to the window, sees people going about their lives like nothing ever happened. And the weight of it starts settling in. This isn't death. It takes a moment, but the realization crashes into him fully. His wish actually came true. He's back. University, 10 years ago. The whole thing reset. Just as that sinks in, a hologram flickers to life and delivers one clean line of information. The integration of the power of gluttony is now complete. He keeps staring out the window, and it registers. 3 years. That's exactly how long he has before the first demon lord, Wrath, descends on this world. The timing isn't a guess. It's burned into his memory because wrath is the reason everything unraveled. Wrath is the one who tears open the gates of hell and starts it all. The decision forms instantly. Find where wrath will appear. Get there first and end it before those gates ever open. He pulls himself back to the present and shifts his focus to the interface hovering beside him. His full stats are laid out clearly, and they're nothing like what he had before. The whole thing looks like a game system, and that throws him, because nothing like this existed during his first life. Back then, he'd operated purely on awakened power, raw, unassisted, no interface, a power that only 1 in 10,000 people ever develop. The National Awakener University was built to find and train exactly those people. The brutal irony? The last time Chen was here, he'd walked out of his rank test with nothing, completely failed to awaken. And the bullying that followed had become routine. That history is exactly why he'd woken up in the infirmary this time around. The system shifts again without warning. A new panel opens, and it's displaying the lightning-type assassin card. Chen recognizes it immediately. That's the exact class he unlocked during his first life, showing up right here at the start. The realization jolts him. He awakened earlier this time. He closes out of the thought quickly, moves to test it out without hesitating, but before he can finish switching into the class, the door opens. His roommate Ma Long walks in, E-ranked flower chanter, bandages across his cheek, clearly having taken some damage recently. Long came to check on Chen, genuinely worried, the kind of friend who shows up even when he's the one who's hurt. The floating panels are invisible to Long, which tells Chen everything. This interface belongs to him alone. Long steps closer and then stops, confused. Every injury on Chen's body is already gone, which makes no sense to someone who knows Chen isn't awakened yet. Seeing Long again pulls something out of Chen, a memory he hadn't fully processed yet. This same roommate had awakened during university last time, climbed as high as he could, and still ended up murdered on the 3rd day after Wrath's descent. Miserably. Without a chance. Chen looks at him and lets himself smile. Quiet, private. Long breaks the moment by reminding him rank test is tomorrow. They need to be ready. He feels sorry saying it, knowing Chen hasn't awakened yet. But he says it anyway because the test matters for graduation, and Long is the type who tells you the hard thing because he cares. Later, the two of them move through the busy streets together, and Chen lets slip that it's been a long time since he's seen this many people in one place, which visibly unsettles his roommate, because that's a strange thing to say on an ordinary afternoon. But Chen's mind is already somewhere else, running the math on what happens if he does nothing. If he lets this life follow the same path as the last one and watches every single one of these people walk into the same catastrophe all over again, training hard and leveling up fast. That's the only path forward, and Chen knows it without hesitation. Here's the problem though. At this point in time, the only way an Awakener actually gains experience and climbs in rank is by taking down monsters inside demon layers. Every single one of those layers is locked down by the major guilds, which means anyone without connections or rank, someone exactly like Chen right now, has almost zero shot at getting inside to level up. He pulls up his status window and combs through his stats carefully, sizing himself up against other Awakeners and even the monsters lurking in those layers. For context, the government ranks Awakeners on a scale that starts at E and climbs all the way to S-class. Chen already knows the reality of this university. Most students are stuck at E ranks, and D ranks is considered a genuine achievement for the few who manage it. He glances over at Long walking beside him and lets out a quiet internal smirk. At least he's got that much on his friend. Then a ball comes flying out of nowhere and smacks Long directly in the face. His glasses go spinning off and shatter on the ground. Brutal, of course. Gong Zheng and his crew, because who else would it be? These are the exact same guys who had already put them through it just the day before. Chung stands there with that signature smirk plastered on his face, demanding to know why Long hadn't already brought him crates of drinks. Apparently that was just expected. Long immediately starts apologizing, already reaching for his own wallet to go buy the drinks himself. Chen grabs his arm and stops him cold, then turns to Chung and says the one who owes an apology here is actually him. Looking at that bully's face again drags something out from deep in Chen's memory. The kind of memories that don't fade no matter how many years pass. Back then, these guys used to hold his head over a sink and force water into his lungs, and they'd laugh it off, saying they were helping him awaken. Zero guilt, zero remorse, just cruelty dressed up as an excuse. The only reason it ever stopped was when Chen's body finally gave out and he passed out. Someone had rushed to check on him after that. But the moment Chung found out Chen had spoken up about it, he'd come back specifically to hurt him worse than before. That history is sitting right behind Chen's eyes now, and his mind is made up. These bullies are getting a proper lesson today. Zhang and his lackeys start closing in the second Chen's words hit the air, moving like they're ready to end this conversation permanently. Chen holds his ground, eyes locked on Zhang, because he knows exactly what this is. This guy only swings his weight around because his older brother runs the student council, and that title has been his shield for years. Jung keeps moving closer. The crowd around them starts thickening. Students drifting in from every direction. Every single one of them is already bracing for the same result. Chen getting beaten down again. Chung gets in his face and repeats the question. What exactly did Chen just say? Daring him to say it again. But Chen doesn't flinch. He repeats it clearly. Stop bothering them. That's it. Done. That calm delivery is what breaks Jung. He snaps, and the punch comes fast. Chen raises his fist and blocks it clean, then shoves the bully back without much effort. Jung stumbles backward, thrown off balance. The crowd goes completely still, because as far as anyone here knows, Chen isn't even awakened yet, and he just swatted away a hit like it was a mild inconvenience. Jung's face goes red with fury and he charges back in. Chen doesn't rush. He settles into his stance, flips his class over to Electric Assassin, quiet and precise. Long is standing off to the side, jaw on the floor. Jung activates his indestructible demon armor and comes in hard with a full power strike, but he never gets there. Chen explodes forward first and connects, a lightning charge punch that sends Chung flying. The weakling just launched the school bully with a single hit, and the crowd can't process what they're seeing. Even face down after taking that, Jung still won't quit. He shouts for his crew to get in there and finish Chen off. His lackeys, meanwhile, are already trembling. They saw exactly what just happened, and none of them liked what it meant for them. Chung drags himself back upright and charges one more time. He gets beaten down again, harder this time, and slammed away with absolutely no resistance to show for it. Watching their boss get handled like that twice in a row, his lackeys make the smartest decision they've ever made. They turn and run. Long is standing there completely frozen, mouth hanging open, trying to reconcile the roommate who got pummeled yesterday with the guy who just did all of that. Chen, for his part, is noting something useful. Just like his past life, he can drop into assassin state on demand, and, even sitting at level 1, his stats are already enough to handle low-level awakeners without breaking a sweat. That tells him his current rank is at minimum D, which is a solid starting point. But there's one gap in his data that's still bothering him. He's beaten someone, but the system hasn't handed him a single level up notification. That thought pulls him forward. Chen almost finishes the job right there and takes Jung out completely. The crowd around them tenses up, watching it unfold. He's a breath away from crossing that line when the student council vice president, Yu, cuts in and tells him to stand down. Her point is simple. Jung was wrong, but what's already been delivered is more than enough. She guarantees the bully won't be coming back after this, and because that guarantee holds weight, Chen pulls back and lets it go. He steps off, but his mind is already picking apart why the student council moved so fast to pull Chung out of this. He knows he wasn't actually going to kill the guy. That was a calculated show. But people like Chung don't stop just because someone asks them to nicely. They stop when the consequence actually hurts. Without a real punishment on record, they'll find someone else to target the moment the heat dies down. Chen walks away with Long and doesn't look back. From a distance, tucked out of sight, Chung's lackeys watch them go, muttering to each other that provoking Xi-chen again is officially off the table. Forever. That night, Long's already talking, trying to explain to the other roommates how Chen somehow awakened as a lightning assassin and dismantled Chung like it was nothing. Nobody believes him. He keeps going anyway, laying out exactly how it happened, blow by blow. Shang Zuo, the E-ranked nucleus mage of the group, treats the whole story like it's stand-up comedy. He fires back with a challenge. If Chen is supposedly this powerful now, why is he outside sprinting laps in the rain? Real awakeners don't need to fall back on basic physical training. That's not how it works. The gamer roommate Xiang Yu chimes in and deadpans that from everything he's hearing, Long must have taken a hit to the skull harder than he realized. Zuo keeps going, laying out the reality as he sees it. The four of them ended up in this dorm because they're at the bottom, and no amount of wishful thinking is changing that fixed fact. He then reminds the room with visible satisfaction that he himself is the strongest of the four, while Long and Yu are just support chanters. He makes sure to say it twice, apparently, for emphasis. He flexes a little on top of that, telling himself there's no universe where Chen has become a lightning assassin. The guy just doesn't have killer instinct written on him. That confidence only grows as he reminds himself that the graduation rank test is tomorrow, and he might even rank up before it's all over. Over at the student council, things are moving too. President Gongting is just finishing up a training session inside an E-ranked demon lair alongside Ling Yu when he spots his younger brother still hanging around outside. He walks over and asks what he's still doing there. Chung unloads immediately, tells his brother he can't sleep with the guy who beat him still walking around campus. He keeps pushing, trying to convince Ting that revenge is the only acceptable outcome here. Ting stays calm and tells him he'll take care of whatever mess Chung has created. Later, sitting at dinner, the vice president asks Ting directly how he's planning to handle this. Ting asks her flat out, "Is this kid actually as dangerous as his brother is making it sound?" Ling Yu walks him through the numbers. There are fewer than 10 D-ranked students in the entire school, and Ting has already pulled every single one of them into his circle. On top of that, those students have demon layer access that nobody else does, which means a random guy with no connections shouldn't be able to hold his own against any of them. The math doesn't add up, and that's exactly what's making this interesting. Across campus, Chen is already drenched, pushing through the rain, legs still moving. His target, 20 full kilometers. The bag on his back is loaded with 100 kilos, close to double his own body weight. This isn't just discipline for its own sake. He understands that physical conditioning directly raises the ceiling on an Awakener's power. A body that can't handle the load will shatter long before the skill ever reaches its ceiling. As he runs, his mind drifts somewhere harder to his sister, and to the moment she was taken from him when Demon Lord Wrath first descended into the human world. The slaughter was instantaneous. Countless lives gone in seconds, and she died right in front of him. That moment is why Wrath is target number one, because everything that followed, every collapse, every death, every year of fighting alone, it all started there. And if Wrath is already growing in strength somewhere out there with 3 years still on the clock, then Shen's growth needs to outpace that, or this life ends the same way. Then his phone rings. It's his sister, Sayun. Hearing her voice hits him somewhere the training can't reach. He goes quiet for a second, just listening. She explains she couldn't call earlier because she was tied up with a competition. She mentions that winning the prize could take care of their rent situation. Said lightly, like it's no big deal, Shen listens to every word without interrupting. And somewhere underneath the exhaustion and the rain and the weight on his back, a quiet, iron-solid resolve locks into place. This time, she gets to live the life she deserves. The call ends, and he turns back to the track. 3 more laps, rain still coming down, feet still moving, training done. Chen heads straight to the shower without slowing down. Something is shifting inside that younger body of his, and he can feel it. The potential is there, and it's already responding to the work he's putting in. He sits down, and the problem settles back in front of them. Demon layers are gated behind money and connections, but without monster kills, leveling up is impossible. He turns it over in his head until exhaustion wins, and he drifts off. Then the gluttony system pulls him in. He lands somewhere that makes no immediate sense, and his first instinct is that this has to be some kind of bizarre dream his worn-out brain cooked up. Back in the dorm, Wang is already poking around looking for him, genuinely puzzled about where his roommate vanished to. Inside that strange space, though, Chen is fully present, and what stands in front of him is a massive tower, looming and impossible to ignore. He barely gets a second to take it in before. A pack of E-ranked cloud warriors, the Death Hounds, materialize around him like a welcoming committee that nobody asked for. His first thought, he somehow wandered into a demon lair. He switches his class immediately, no hesitation. Figure out where he is later. Right now, there are monsters, and monsters get dealt with first. The Deathhounds turn out to be all reputation and no results. Chen dismantles them cleanly and collects whatever drops they leave behind. Level 2. Just like that. He grins. Maybe stumbling into this place was the best accident he's had since waking up in the past. Then the boss shows up, and Chen cuts through it just as cleanly, like the rank difference wasn't even worth mentioning. Another level up follows immediately. The gap is obvious. Boss experience dwarfs what the regular mobs handed him, not even close to the same yield. Then something new happens. The boss's body lights up with a devourable marker. Chen stares at it, genuinely unsure what the system is even asking him to do. He remembers the gluttony ability flagged in his panel earlier, raises his hand toward the body, and tests it. It completes in an instant. The monster collapses inward and seals itself into a card. The implication hits him like cold water. He can convert defeated monsters into usable classes. That's what this power actually does, and it doesn't take long before he realizes. This is the exact same ability Demon Lord Lan Yu wielded, knowing that a power of that scale is now sitting inside him. That shakes something loose in his chest that training can't prepare you for. In this world, every person is born locked into a single class, 2 with the absolute ceiling of natural talent. Chen is now looking at unlimited, as many classes as he can devour. He genuinely doesn't know what he did to deserve something this broken. Before that question goes anywhere, his body snaps to attention. A demon steps forward holding 2 S-ranked blades, 1 in each hand, radiating something that makes the air feel heavier. S-rank. Chen reads the gap immediately. This is not a winnable fight by any normal measure. He knows it. The math is completely against him. And yet, he summons a lightning sword anyway, gambling on survival over surrender. What catches him off guard even more, the demon already knows his name, which raises questions nobody's answered yet. The fight unfolds in a series of exchanges, though calling it a real fight would be generous. The demon is playing with him and they both know it. It deliberately sidesteps every vital point and keeps knocking Chen down with almost casual efficiency. After pushing him past his limit, the demon finally stops swinging long enough to make an offer. Stay and guard this demonic tower alongside it, and walk away with his life intact. Chen refuses. The demon's blade comes down across his arm. Brutal, clean, not a warning shot. It lays it out plainly. It's been holding back this entire time, only because Chen is the only living person capable of even reaching this place. It asks him one more time to reconsider. Chen doesn't move. The answer is still no. Danger and all. He charges himself up and attacks again because that's what he does. Every exchange up to this point has been data collection. He's been reading the demon's movement patterns, cataloging every tell, and he's found it, a 0.4 second windup before every swing. That window combined with wrist angle is just enough to get out of the way in time. On top of that, there's a 0.2 second recovery lag after each strike, and that's the opening he's going to use to go straight for the heart. He pulls off the maneuver. It works, but he's not delusional about what it means. A D rank's landing a hit on an S rank isn't a victory. It's a reach. The real goal was never to win. It was to create enough of a gap to get out. He does exactly that. Then the demon disappears completely and calmly informs him that the entire thing was an illusion, and the exit Chen had been angling toward, it doesn't exist in this space. The demon clarifies further, this isn't a demon lair at all. But it notes, with something almost like respect, that Chen identified the flaws in its attack pattern faster than it expected. The reveal comes next. Purgatory Rakshasa, standing there in the open, telling Chen directly that he is the one who carries hope. Chen looks at it properly for the first time, and his blood runs cold, because that form is one he has seen before. On Demon Lord Lan Yu, the flashback pulls him back to the final battle before his regression, the last fight he ever threw himself into. During that clash, the creature opened with a dragon form, then started cycling through transformations, each one more dangerous than the last. Scorching magma, poisonous vines, lightning that made his own look like a flashlight. But one specific form stuck with him above everything else, and it looked exactly like the demon standing in front of him right now. The conclusion lands like a verdict. Every transformation Lan Yu used was part of the Gluttony ability, which is now inside Chen. The Rakshasa he sees isn't some external entity. It's the power of gluttony, wearing the face of what it once consumed. That deduction earns a response. The demon tells him, without flattery, that he is genuinely worthy of inheriting everything this dimension holds. Chen frowns. Everything in the dimension is doing a lot of work in that sentence, and he doesn't know what it means yet. Then a golden void key appears in the demon's hand. The only thing that opens and exits the giant tower standing behind it. The explanation follows. Lan Yu had devoured an uncountable number of powerful monsters over his reign. Rakshasa's purpose was to guard the tower that locks in the most indomitable of them all, and now it's handing that key to Chen, asking him to devour those demons, grow strong enough, and carry the mission forward in its place. Chen asks the obvious question, why would a demon help a human at all? Rakshasa's answer reframes everything. The demon realm isn't a monolith of evil. Among its ranks live creatures with genuine codes of honor, and one monster shattered Rakshasa's entire clan purely for its own amusement, a massacre dressed up as entertainment. That debt has been waiting for the right person to collect it. Rakshasa believes that person is Chen, and adds that someone had already pointed him out as their best shot at real vengeance. Chen asks immediately who that someone is. The demon answers the way every cryptic ancient entity answers. The tower holds the truth. Go find it yourself. Then it stops holding back what it came here to give. Its final terms. Chen must become the strongest human alive. The tower's beasts are not trophies. Each one will be a genuine fight, even for someone growing as fast as he is. The warning that closes it out carries real weight. Only a person with an unrelenting hunger to grow stronger has any right to Purgatory Rakshasa's power. With that, its body compresses into a blazing space, pure energy offered up completely for Chen to consume. 8 levels in one surge, and 2 of Rakshasa's swords now belong to him. The bonuses stack on top. The ability to absorb power from fallen humans and demons, plus gravity manipulation added to the arsenal. Morning arrives and his eyes open slowly. Light is already cutting through the dorm windows like any other regular day. Then a loud voice rips through the room. His roommates are already in motion, telling him to get moving before he makes everyone late. He checks himself over, no injuries, nothing. Every bit of that felt real, but the body says otherwise, and that's a problem worth questioning. Then his updated stats load in, and the questioning stops cold. Every single thing that happened carried over. It was all real. He jumped from level 2 to level 10 while sleeping, which raises one very important question about what rank that actually puts him at now. Just. His roommate cuts through the moment with a grin and starts poking fun at him, bringing up how somebody in this very room spent the previous night going on and on about how unbelievably cool and powerful Chen supposedly was. Long immediately finds something very interesting to look at on the other side of the room. The roommate turns it into a challenge. Prove it at the ranking assessment today, and whoever comes out on top keeps the title of Dorm King. On the walk to school, the self-proclaimed Dorm King takes it upon himself to educate his so-called subjects, explaining, with full authority, that every rank in the Awakener system is divided into 3 distinct tiers. Technically, they're all E ranks, but the Dorm King draws that line between himself and the bottom-tier E-losers, like it's a canyon, mid-E ranks, superior by tier, and absolutely insufferable about it, chest-puffed and logic nowhere to be found. The man genuinely believes he's climbed an entire tier since his last assessment, because he feels strong apparently. Ma Long finally reaches his limit, and tells Shen straight up, drop the act, go all out today, and at minimum walk out with a D rank. At least then the Dorm King might find something other than his own voice to be impressed by. They arrive at school to find the whole campus already buzzing. Students packed in and tense, the ceremony about to begin. Then the bullies walk in like they purchased the building. Shooting looks at anyone who glances too long, like eye contact is a punishable offense. The Dorm King's smug expression evaporates on the spot. Gone. Instantly. Interestingly enough, the bullies themselves go a little stiff too, because Chen is right there. Without anyone asking, they turn toward him and start bowing. No hesitation. Respectful, almost reflexive. The roommates exchange a slow look. Maybe Long wasn't completely making things up after all. Chen doesn't even glance at them. He's already moved on mentally. That's when a new problem walks up. Student Council Officer Jian, presenting himself as the school's enforcer, delivering what he calls a polite warning. Translation: the Student Council President personally sent him to deal with whoever was reckless enough to put hands on his little brother. Jen's friends are gone before the sentence finishes, scattered in every direction like smoke. Yan has a reputation. D ranks, handles all the ugly work that keeps the president's hands clean. And the roommates genuinely cannot figure out why someone like that has zeroed in on Chen specifically. He closes the distance without invitation, then announces with full confidence that his heightened sense of smell gives him an accurate read on a person's strength. And what he smells right now is someone completely unremarkable. Weak. Not worth the time. Chen finds that funny, and fires back without a pause, which was clearly not the reaction Jian was expecting. The second the word dog lands, Jian loses whatever composure he walked in with. Before it escalates into something the whole campus witnesses, the president's voice cuts through. Stand down, not here, not now. He'd done his research. His brother threw the first punch, and getting beaten was the natural outcome of swinging at someone built differently. With that said, the president locks eyes with Chen for a long moment, sharp and deliberate. Chen doesn't blink. A professor's announcement breaks the standoff. The rank assessment ceremony is starting. Names will be called. Everyone falls in line. The president pulls Jian back and writes the whole thing off as a one-time situation. In his mind, the intimidation already did its job and Chen will stay quiet from here on. But someone else is watching from well above the floor. One of the professors notices the vice president observing the ceremony from the upper level and asks if a particular student has already caught her attention. She smiles, quiet, knowing, and says this year is going to be worth watching. The first name that gets called is Xiang Zoa. The Dorm King straightens up, steps forward, and attempts to look unbothered. But the nerves are visible. The assessment works through a specialized demon layer where a wired demon heart absorbs an Awakener's energy output and translates it into a rank and potential reading. Triggered when the Awakener releases their peak power inside, that signal travels back out, and the result appears for everyone waiting to see. His rank, unchanged. Exactly where he left it. The professor pauses. The potential reading is taking longer than standard, which draws a confused look. Ma Long leans forward, eyes fixed on the number as it shifts. The Dorm King walks out deflated. All that confidence, all those tiers he swore he climbed, pure imagination. His roommates try to soften it, reminding him they're all stuck in the same place anyway. E rank across the board, with a ceiling of C rank potential at best. A moment later, Jian strolls out wearing a satisfied expression. Lower D ranks, same as before. But his potential reads all the way up to A. The roommates start quietly spiraling. Nearly 10 students have already hit D ranks, and they're still standing at the back of that list. Even the faculty is caught off guard by the number of D ranks showing up this cycle. Students without real combat exposure rarely break out of E, and yet here they are. The energy shifts when the next name hits the air. The president steps up, carrying the weight of every expectation in the building. Gongting, guildmaster and the closest thing this academy has to a sure thing, walks onto the stage while every eye follows. Chen watches from where he's standing. Calm. Curious but unbothered. The Academy's record sat at mid-D ranks and Ting was only at lower D just 2 years ago. The crowd is already doing the math, wondering if today is the day that record breaks. Inside the demon lair, the demon heart stirs as Tang approaches. Slow, deliberate, like it's sizing him up. He can't unleash his full power here. The setting doesn't allow for it, but this is his graduation, his last chance to write his name at the top, and he pours in everything the environment will permit. When the potential grade loads and glows gold, the professors stare at it like they're waiting for it to change. High D rank confirmed, the record is shattered without ceremony. Then the potential number finishes resolving, and the first S-rank potential in Academy history goes live on that display. The crowd erupts. The president's crew goes wild. Even Chen's roommates are burning with envy, fully aware they're watching a moment that will be referenced for years. Faculty immediately huddles. Word needs to reach the administration as fast as possible. A potential S-rank candidate is a national asset. He cannot be allowed to slip out of the country's reach. Add to that his guild involvement at his age, the Academy's name is going to be everywhere by tomorrow morning. Principal Yuan Long, watching from the elevated section, quietly notes that Vice President Ling Yu already knew. That's why she came down personally. The ceremony alone wouldn't have pulled her here. She had a reason. Then she confirms it. The president wasn't the only one she came to watch today. Beyond the headline act, there's one other student on her list, and that student interests her more. Right on cue, that student's name gets called. The dorm king decides this is his moment to perform, turning to Chen with a grin and urging him not to come out of there as another E-rank embarrassment that would reflect on all of them. He leans into it, painting a picture of collective humiliation if Chen tanks the assessment, as if showing up to a prestigious ceremony without the rank to back it up is some kind of offense against nature. Long shuts him down immediately and declares, with zero uncertainty, that Chen is about to make this entire crowd regret underestimating him. The anticipation settles over the crowd like a held breath. As Chen steps into the demon lair, the demon heart registers his presence before he's even close. Pressure floods the space, and our hero is already running the math in his head. The graduation combat assessment is the real gate to a high-ranking guild, and everything hinges on how this moment plays out. First place in that team assessment earns direct recruitment into the Imperial Guild, the nation's absolute top tier. That goal is sitting right at the end of this road. Across the room, Heine leans over to the president and introduces the latest addition, a lower D rank, proudly announcing the party is now complete. Every D rank in the school, plus the president's brother. He can't see how first place goes anywhere else. Chen already understands how this shakes out. Strong students cluster together, and the weak get sorted into their own groups by default, leaving anyone without rank fighting over scraps in a structure that was never designed to give them a fair shot. Back outside, Long starts shifting on his feet. The screen hasn't moved at all, and that silence is louder than any result. The crowd starts filling in the blank. Chen must register so low that the system can't even get a clean reading. Someone near the president leans in and suggests they're done here. The rest of the students aren't worth the time, they should just leave. The president is almost convinced, but before anyone takes a step, the screen stutters and flickers back to life, and lands on high D ranks. The crowd fractures. Noise. Disbelief. People turning to each other to confirm what they just saw. Shock moves through the room in a visible wave. The student council stares at that reading like it made a mistake, the president included. Then the system flags a deviation in the result. What actually happened? Chen used the system to measure his level 10 base stats in his unmodified physical form, letting the evaluation run clean before making any adjustments. After the D rank registers, he switches class, Infernal Death King, the weakest devoured class currently in his rotation. The rank climbs, high D drops away and mid-C appears. The crowd loses it again, while the student council starts genuinely questioning whether the assessment equipment is still functional. The scientists on site are now openly debating the same thing. The numbers keep shifting, and a malfunctioning machine is the most comfortable explanation anyone can land on right now. Then the demon heart shows actual instability. Visible, measurable, not a glitch. The result deviates again. Chen clocks it and makes his next move. Purgatory Rakshasa, class activated. The demon heart doesn't just register the shift, it reacts to it, visibly unsettled, while the storm tears open outside the demon lair with zero warning. Jian snaps. Loud, unfiltered confusion spilling out of him, announcing to anyone within range that their dorm has just produced something that doesn't belong in a normal rank assessment. A divine monster. A moment that rewrites the record books in real time, and the next moment is still coming. The potential reading flickers and lands on S rank. The scientists go completely still. The president stares at that screen like it personally offended him. Then the system throws a warning. The user's potential has exceeded maximum measurable load. Current limits cannot contain it. Xi'chen's brain flatlines, soul halfway out of his body, running on pure shock and zero logical processing. Meanwhile, the system itself starts fracturing under the pressure. Unable to hold the reading together, the scientists pull forward in a panic. Focused entirely on making sure the student inside doesn't get hurt, they push through the door. And stop. What used to be the demon heart is now a shriveled husk, sitting in its place like something that gave up on life entirely, burned out. Completely done, not a flicker left. Chen may have pushed the intimidation factor slightly past the acceptable limit. He devours what's left of it anyway, and walks away with 2 new abilities. The power to see anyone's rank at a glance, plus an early warning system for nearby threats. He steps out of the demon lair, and the world immediately becomes more interesting because every person around him now has a rank floating above their head. His eyes drift to the president, and what he finds there is underwhelming. The so-called Academy legend has been hiding his true potential this whole time. And the real number underneath is a mediocre C-crank at best. The scientists file out looking like they'd rather be anywhere else and deliver the news. The demon heart experienced total failure under extreme stress. Assessments are suspended until further notice. Chen's results get officially labeled a probable error, flagged to review by higher authorities. Everyone else gets told to come back tomorrow with a replacement device. Clean slate, fresh start. No drama. On the walk back, the roommates are absolutely electric, treating Chen like he just personally rearranged the school's power structure, which, in fairness, he kind of did. Jian is visibly struggling with what he witnessed and starts throwing the word fraud around, demanding someone answer for the broken machine and the time wasted. The energy of a man who knows he lost but refuses to file the paperwork on it. Chen reaches the end of his patience and is about a half-second away from settling this with electricity when Ting steps in and cuts Jian off cold. Don't disrespect a potential teammate. That's the message. Jian blinks. The whiplash is immediate. Then Ting extends his hand toward Chen, a formal invitation to join his team, delivered with the full confidence of someone who's never been told no and doesn't expect to start now. He lays it out cleanly. Together, they go first place, no contest, no close calls. Jian, meanwhile, is quietly unraveling in the background, because someone has to get cut to make room for Chen, which means this situation is already setting up a conflict he didn't ask for. He can't figure out what Chen even has that years of guild-backed training and bribery couldn't buy into this lineup. He swallows every feeling he has about it, plants a hand on Chen's shoulder with all the enthusiasm of someone eating medicine, and forces out a welcome. Chen looks at that hand and removes it. Flat, immediate, final, no interest in joining, full stop. Xi-chen starts sweating. He snaps, tells Chen he clearly doesn't understand what he's walking away from, because this team owns first place before the test even starts. Chen turns his back, says it has nothing to do with him, calls the whole group too loud to deal with, and walks away without looking back. Jian boils. Whatever composure he had left evaporates after that dismissal. The school gossip machine spins up immediately. Most people land on the theory that Chen is gunning for first place solo after that C-crank showing. The drama is live, the audience is enormous, and nobody's leaving early. The roommates, for their part, are fully savoring the looks on Jian and Ting's faces. The kind of public humiliation that doesn't fade quickly. Ting stays composed and tells Jian to relax. If Chen has his own agenda, let him run it. From above, the principal exhales slowly. He had quietly hoped these two would team up and shatter every record in the building. Ling Yu, beside him, notes that the situation is actually more compelling this way. She points out that Ting has never once faced genuine rejection. Everything in his life has come pre-packaged with deference and access. What Chen just did registers in Ting's mind as a declaration of war, and she makes sure the principal understands once Ting's pride takes a hit like that, he doesn't let it sit. Jian keeps pushing the fraud angle. It was a machine error. Chen got lucky. The C-cranks means nothing. Ting doesn't fully agree. He acknowledges the odds are slim, but he's not willing to risk first place on an assumption. Not when someone out there might actually be able to take it. Jian reads the room and volunteers to personally go remind Chen where he stands, since the council has been quietly training inside demon lairs for years, while Chen presumably has no real combat experience at all. But Ting stops that sentence before it lands anywhere dangerous, asking whether their president seriously looks like the type to handle things that petty. Jian catches himself and apologizes. Ting cancels their plans for the evening and tells Jian simply, "Handle it yourself. Don't loop me in." The implication in that cold tone is clear. Whatever happens next is Jian's business, and Ting's name stays clean. Jian receives that message without needing it repeated. 10 minutes later, an informant slides up and delivers the update. Chen already left campus, mentioned something about heading home, didn't stop to eat on the way out, which means he's alone and off school grounds. Jian's mood immediately shifts. This feels like an opening, and he intends to use it before it closes. Chen, meanwhile, is already crossing the street, completely elsewhere in his head. He's running through a memory from his previous life, a peak guild, attempting to clear a demon lair deep inside St. He Country's territory. Inside that lair, they ran into something none of them had records for. Wrath. Entirely unknown, catalogued by no one. The entire peak team was wiped out before they could organize a response. Then the monster walked out into the human world and left destruction in every direction. The memory cuts off before it finishes. But Chen has enough. He knows which lair and he's already building the plan to reach it first this time. Step 1 requires money, serious money. So he heads directly to the Mithril Monster Exchange Center without breaking stride. He knows this place. In the future timeline, the Exchange Center under the Mithril Guild becomes the largest material trading hub in the entire country. In this world, an Awakener's reputation is built on the quality of their equipment, and this exchange sits at the center of all of it. The place where high-value gear changes hands. For Chen right now, it's a straightforward cash conversion. Nothing more dramatic than that. He walks in and drops a set of fangs on the broker's table. The broker studies them slowly, then looks up with visible suspicion, asking how a student gets his hands on something like this. Chen explains, monster drop, defeated earlier. The broker raises his brows and admits he's never seen the item before, which isn't surprising given where Chen obtained it. The broker's assistant leans in and identifies them. Fangs from E-class monsters called Beast Fang's Son. She starts to explain their practical applications. That records indicate these fangs can be used to craft an E-grade cloud-type scepter or ground down into powder for secondary uses. The broker talks over her and slides the fang back across the table, announcing that E-grade items aren't worth serious attention. He then launches into a full explanation of how the exchange operates. BIP structure, identity verification, D-grade minimum, framing the whole thing as a justification for not recognizing something he clearly should have studied more carefully. Internally, he's frustrated about the drought of high-tier clients lately, and sees zero career value in spending time on someone who doesn't improve his numbers. Nuisance. That's his private verdict. He hands the whole thing off to his assistant Li and removes himself from the conversation entirely. Li quietly passes Chen an envelope and asks if there's anything else she can help with. Chen checks the amount. 18 grand. Enough to cover rent without stress. He moves forward. Then he sets the glowing greatsword from Purgatory Regresses on the table. Li's attention locks onto it instantly. She's never encountered anything quite like it, but her estimate puts it at B-grade minimum. Possibly A if the energy output means what she thinks it means. The broker reappears at the sound of that, already dismissing her before she finishes the sentence. A-grade items run around 1 million. He's worked here for years, and he has never personally touched one. Then the shop owner walks in, takes one look at the sword, and says quietly that it's neither A-grade nor B-grade. The broker lights up, relieved. Clearly his boss is about to confirm that a student couldn't possibly be carrying something worth real money. The owner continues. The weapon originates from the Purgatory lands. It is S-grade. The broker and the assistant short-circuit simultaneously. Expressions locked, words gone, processing halted. The owner grabs Chen's hand with both of his and pivots completely. Honored guest, full welcome, whatever he needs. He leads Chen toward the VIP room personally and tells him to make any request he wants without holding back. Chen walks in feeling settled, because the owner, Xi, is playing out exactly the way memory said he would. Once they're seated, the guild boss gets to the point. How much does Chen want for the sword? 1 million. Chen says it immediately, which catches the green-haired man off guard. He leans forward and explains that the sword could command tens of millions on the open market. Chen is dramatically underselling it. Chen clarifies, he's not selling. He wants a 1 million loan for 30 days with the great sword held as collateral. The guild boss sits back and reassesses the person in front of him. This kid is operating several moves ahead, and that raises real questions about who exactly he is. Chen lays out the rest, capital returned in 30 days, interest paid the month after. Clean, structured, no ambiguity. Before committing to anything, the guild boss sends the assistant out. Adults talking, door closed. Then he puts the cards on the table. He knows Chen is a graduating student at the National Awakener University, and he knows what's coming. He knows the graduation test lands in 30 days, and he knows first place pays exactly 1 million. He asks directly, is Chen certain he's going to win that test? He doesn't say it with doubt. He says it the way someone does when they've already figured out the answer and just want to watch the other person confirm it. He also reads clearly that Chen is here because he's out of options. This isn't a casual stop. His response, 1.5 million, transferred immediately. Zero interest. He extends his hand across the table with a smile and says this is the beginning of something worth building. Chen didn't see that number coming, and for a moment that genuine surprise shows. The guild boss adds one more thing. Nothing said in this room leaves this room. All he asks in return is that Chen comes back to this guild when he has something else worth trading. And please check the link in the description below. Chen thinks it over quietly. This man read every angle of the situation, saw every leverage point, and chose not to use a single one of them. That's why he becomes one of the most powerful figures in the country's future. Chen reaches across and shakes his hand, already thinking about what it's going to take to bring down a demon lord, and how no one does that alone. A few minutes later, the contract is signed and the deal is done. The money hits his account. No delay, no waiting, just instant. Seeing that Chen just handed off his weapon, the guild boss offers to lend him something for the tournament, since showing up empty-handed would be a problem. No S-rank gear on hand, but the boss makes it clear there's no shortage of top-tier A-ranks options ready to go. Chen waves it off without a second thought. Instead, he reaches out and summons the other great sword he picked up earlier. Just like that. Dead silence. Every guild member standing nearby looks like they just got hit by a truck. With nothing left to settle, Chen heads out. The guild boss, not wasting a single second, turns around and bumps the pink-haired girl straight up to supervisor. Because landing a client that valuable earns you more than a thank you. He is almost out the door when something stops him, something he forgot to grab. So he pivots and heads back to the counter. Fast forward a few hours and the scene shifts entirely. Chen is outside now, standing in front of a bus stop. Standing there, the memories hit. His previous life, the grind, the humiliation. People treating him like he was nothing. Endless back-to-back shifts just to keep the lights on and food on the table. Both siblings lived barely a step above homeless just to survive each month. Yuan had earned her spot at her dream university back then. She got in fair and square, but she turned it down, telling herself the campus was just too far from her brother. The real reason, though, she refused to add even one more ounce of financial weight onto his shoulders. Back in the present, Chen glances around, wondering why she has not shown up yet. Then, a voice cuts through the noise. It calls him an idiot for standing near the entrance when the exit is where she would come out. Dragging a massive suitcase behind her, she announces they are flat broke again because rent wiped everything clean. Chen does not say a single word. He just stands there frozen, because 7 years is a long time, and seeing her standing right in front of him does something to him he was not ready for. She tells him to stop standing there and help her with her stuff. No reaction. She waves her hand directly in front of his face, trying to pull him back to reality. Then something in Chen just breaks. He lunges forward and wraps her in the tightest hug he has got. She did not see that coming at all. A few awkward seconds pass before she decides enough is enough. Out comes the poke, straight into his side, the classic move to escape his iron grip, followed immediately by a full lecture about how he nearly crushed her. She tells him he has been acting seriously weird lately and wonders out loud if some girl finally turned him down. He brushes it off without engaging. They start walking, and she does not stop talking about her exams for a single second. Chen listens to every word, genuinely, without rushing her. Quietly, he makes himself a promise. Nothing touches her this time around. Not in this life. Meanwhile, tucked inside a nearby alleyway, a group of thugs are already in position. Word has reached them that Chen will pass through. John keeps his crew low and calm. The order is simple. Wait until the target walks in, then swarm him all at once. That unhinged grin spreading across his face. He mutters to himself that payback is coming. And it is going to hurt. One of the thugs raises the question. What if things spiral out of control? Is that going to be a problem? Cloud Assassin sets the record straight. This was never just about a lesson anymore. That last encounter flipped a switch in him. The image of Chen humiliating him plays on a loop in his head as he tells the crew to leave some of him behind. He swears on everything that today, Chen walks away with a scar he will never forget. Then comes the full monologue, declaring himself the greatest cloud assassin alive, practically drooling at the mental image of his target's face crumbling. Back to Chen and his sister, mid-walk. She brings it up again, the strange behavior, the distant look, and this time she guesses it might be exam pressure getting to him. He plays it cool, telling her a guy like him does not need to overthink these things. She fires back with his own words, the ones he always told her, keep moving no matter what, and let the rest sort itself out. To shake off whatever is weighing on him, she starts belting out a motivational song as they turn into the alley. Something about how quickly she picked up on his change catches Ren off guard. But she still does not know about the awakening, the powers, or the money. None of it. His confident "I'm fine" does not fully land, and she starts wondering if that is just his ego talking. Yoon shakes her head slowly, half amused, thinking to herself that her little brother is finally growing up. Across the alley, crouched in the shadows, one of the thugs radios John that their target is not alone. There is a girl with him. That news lights the guy up like a Christmas tree. No cameras in the alley, no witnesses, no problems. Cloud Assassin is practically celebrating. Shen, however, clocks them immediately. The killing intent hits him like a wall. One scan, and he knows exactly who it is. Those same lowlifes from the student council. Without making it obvious, he reaches into his pocket and pulls out a pair of off-brand earbuds. He tucks them right into his sister's ears and tells her there is a song he has been listening to lately, something she should hear. She looks surprised, since music has never been his thing. But she shrugs and decides to go with it, thinking maybe this is one of those new sides of him she is trying to understand. Then Chen turns around, and the look on his face is something else entirely. The gumbags creeping forward have no idea what that stare means. They are about to find out. The music plays. The thugs charge. The fight is on. Shen flips to his lightning class in an instant, and in that same instant, 7 years of loss slam back into him. 7 years without her. And these idiots chose today. The anger is not loud. It is cold and very, very focused. He genuinely wants to know where these clowns found the nerve. Then he moves, a straight bolt forward, no hesitation. The first thug catches a leg to the body, and then goes airborne. The one still standing starts to sweat. 3 more step up, and Chen charges his fist, delivering 3 consecutive knuckle sandwiches down the line before finishing the 4th with a knee that hits like a demolition ball. One of them, braver than the rest, decides to take a swing. Chen just catches the arm, and snaps it clean like dry pasta. The scream that follows is immediate, and then a fist lands directly on his nose. Full force, no pullback. Jian watches his crew get dismantled one by one, and it just stands there locked up, completely unable to process how Chen got this strong. But Chen is not done. He is already closing the distance, hammering forward, throwing punches left and right without slowing, carving a direct path straight toward Cloud Assassin. He arrives. Jian scrambles to hold on to the story he tells himself, that he is the best, that he cannot lose, that this is just a fluke. The delusion is loud. The conviction is crumbling. Chen does him a favor and brings him straight back to reality. One devastating punch, no warning. Jian goes flying. Chen follows immediately. No pause, no breath, launching into a full combo that does not let up. Teeth, several of them, no longer where they used to be. Cloud Assassin rolls across the ground like a tumbleweed that made a very bad life decision and slams hard into the wall. Chen looks down at him. DN, dignity completely gone, crumpled at the base of that wall, and reminds him plainly that he was already told to stay away. He looks him dead in the eyes and asks, slowly, whether basic human language is somehow beyond him. Half the bones in that body are broken. Jian cannot feel his legs, and somewhere beneath all the pain, it finally clicks. He picked the absolute wrong person. All that comes out is a barely audible apology. Chen grabs him by the collar, pulls him close, and presses a dagger right up against his face. No theatrics, no build-up. Jian sees it immediately in those eyes. No hesitation, not even a flicker of it. This is not a student's aura. This is something else. For a second, John cannot stop himself from wondering what kind of life twists a person into what Chen has become. The message comes out cold and quiet. Remember every word of this, because a repeat is not something he wants. Next time they try anything, Chen will not hold back. That is the final warning. Full stop. Then he adds one more line, just to make sure it lands. If they come anywhere near his sister, he will personally erase everyone connected to them. Every single one by one. And then he releases the grip, lets the dagger drop, and walks straight back to his sister's side. The song still playing in her ears, not even finished yet. By the time the last note fades, his sister's not okay. The lyrics hit somewhere deep, sad, hollow, and painfully familiar, and she cannot hold back the tears. The tears keep coming, and beneath them, she's trying to make sense of it all, wondering what her brother quietly carried all these years that changed him this much. The thought that maybe her support back then was not enough eats at her in that moment. She spins around, fully ready to let him have it. The words die in her throat the second she sees what is in his hand. Right there, the gold-plated pen she has talked about wanting for years, shining like it belongs in a display case. Yun's face goes full tomato red immediately. She cannot wrap her head around it. The newest holographic magic pen. The one that costs more than their entire monthly rent. And her brother just bought it for her. That face she is making, the one where she clearly wants to keep it but feels guilty about it, melts him completely. He tucks his fist quietly behind his back. Right then and there, Chen locks it in. Her smile stays and she walks through the doors of her dream school. That is the new mission. She spends the next several hours completely lost in it, drawing holographic shapes and figures that float in the air around her. Big Brother sits quietly nearby, finishing her homemade ramen, watching her light up. And that is more than enough for him. Still, she cannot fully let go of the guilt. The rent is not covered, and he dropped this kind of money on a gift. Chen just grins and drops the news. Rent is handled the entire next year, already paid. He tosses in a casual mention of a little business venture with a friend that has been picking up steam. Seyun does not even blink before turning that sharp stare on him. The one that says she is already 3 steps ahead of whatever story he is trying to sell. She does not buy a single word of the business story, but she does not push it either. What quietly catches her off guard is something else entirely. She genuinely cannot remember the last time she saw her brother laugh this freely and without weight behind it. She reaches over and gives him a gentle pat on the shoulder. Just one thing. That is all she asks. Whatever he is doing out there that he is not telling her about, he better not run himself into the ground doing it. Across town, President Ting sits down with his cousin and drops something that cuts through the room. The top doctors in the city have officially declared that Mr. Top Assassin's injuries are beyond recovery. More than half the bones in his body are broken past the point of proper healing. The fact that Jian even fought Chen in the first place was already hard to believe. But the state of his body coming out of it is something else entirely. The president's response is about as warm as you would expect, dead-eyed. He says the guy fought like dead weight anyway, and honestly, things might run cleaner without him. Then their uncle speaks, the Academy's director of employment, and the energy in the room shifts. Gongxuan lays out his findings on Chen, calm and methodical. The full investigation into everything that unfolded during the ranking ceremony is complete. The numbers do not lie. Chen outranks the student council president. Full stop. That one lands. The former top student goes visibly rigid, clearly not expecting that conclusion. Gongxuan follows it with a direct warning. His father personally arranged for a vice chairman of the alliance to evaluate the combat exam. Shining brightest in that room is not optional. It is expected. And if that somehow becomes a problem, he already has a solution ready. His uncle's green-haired niece steps in, and she helps the team lock down first place overall. The council president shuts that down immediately. No hesitation. He makes it clear. What they saw during the assessment was not even close to his real output. He will handle the entire academy by himself. No backup needed. Over at the academy dorms, Chen wraps up his daily grind, 100 miles full pack on his back, and heads straight to wash off. There is only one thing on his radar right now, the $1 million prize sitting at the end of the graduation exam. That money is the key. It is what locks in his deal with Mithril Guild's Qing Ji and gets their trade relationship off the ground for real. With just weeks left on the clock, he drops into bed, not to rest. The grind does not stop just because his eyes close. He slips straight into the demon lair, and there it is, Demon King Lan Yu's Void Tower, enormous and waiting. He takes the long staircase up to the entrance without slowing down once. His run with the Gravehound King's class landed him at a respectable mid-C rank. His Abyssal Fiend class, on the other hand, broke the system entirely. Too much output for it to even register properly. The demon heart itself could not pin down a classification for what that class is actually capable of. The only path forward becomes obvious. He unlocks the Void Tower and takes the raw power of his remaining classes straight to a live battlefield. He walks in, genuinely curious about what kind of punishment the tower has lined up for him. What he sees stops him cold, a massive white planet, floating in open space, and he is standing right on top of it, dropped into a strange dimension with no warning. His very first step forward, and Demolth's knees nearly hit the ground. He barely keeps himself upright, fighting just to stay on his feet. The fallen star wastes run at 10 times Earth's gravity, and every single bone in his body is screaming it. He turns back. The tower entrance is already gone. He already knows what that means. Find the boss, beat it, or stay here. And before any ambush catches him flat-footed, he needs to get his body right, fast. A phantom lion nearby is already on the hunt, and it has absolutely no interest in giving him time to adjust. No options left. Lightning class activated. The lion does not hesitate. It launches straight at him. Chen barely gets out of the way and drives in a quick stab to the shoulder. The beast roars, furious, but the hit does nothing meaningful. No vital point, no real damage. Right away it becomes obvious. The gravity is killing his precision just as much as his movement. Every attack lands sluggish. Every motion costs twice the effort. The phantom lion reads it immediately and presses the advantage, slamming him to the ground and going straight for a bite, like he is a meal it has been waiting on. These monsters were built for this environment. Watching the lion move through it like nothing is humbling in the worst way. He lets it chew on his arm for just a second, then switches to Abyssal Fiend. The class shift changes everything about how his body feels. Speed takes a hit, but strength and stamina surge, exactly what this kind of close, brutal fight demands. The lion that had him pinned gets slammed down hard, and just like that, the momentum of the entire fight flips. Regresses and gravity manipulation. On a 10G planet, a 3x multiplier hits with a level of force that does not need explaining. The lion rages, but Chen is completely past the point of mercy now. He drives it down, straight into the surface of the planet, and then he collapses flat on his back, chest heaving, completely spent. That is when Gluttony pings him with a level up notification. And honestly, after all that, it feels earned. Along with it comes a breakdown of how the class system actually works. Every class carries a star rating that reflects how dramatically the stats shift when switching into it. Purgatory Rakshasa sits at the top of that list, the most stars of anything he has. And yet, with all that firepower, a single B-rank phantom lion almost had him. Triple's rank is the ceiling. He is nowhere near it yet. Then Gluttony rubs salt in the wound. No option to devour the creature. And based on the lack of an exit, that lion was clearly not the floor boss either. The real boss is still out there somewhere. Then, from behind him, a massive door swings open. Dozens of eyes, all glowing, stare out from the dark beyond it. The weight of what is coming crashes into him all at once. Everything he just burned through to drop one phantom lion. That was the warm-up. The door keeps giving. Countless B-rank monsters spill out in a wave, and they are on him instantly, tearing and clawing from every angle. This is the moment it fully registers what Rakshasa was actually trying to tell him. Ruthless beasts. A path paved with nothing but pain and suffering. Those were the demon's exact words, but the instruction that came right after it. Endure it. Adapt. Get stronger. The suffering is the point. Chen snaps awake like he just surfaced from drowning, his body convinced for a second that the nightmare was real. Because in every way that mattered it was. The rest of the room is dead asleep, completely undisturbed. None of them have any idea he just spent the night getting torn apart piece by piece. The truth settles in slow and heavy. The Void Tower is not a fast track to power. This is the beginning of something long, brutal, and unforgiving, and he is barely through the front door. Weeks grind forward until the day finally arrives. The Academy's graduation exam is here. The stands fill with BIPs, all eyes on this incoming batch of students to see who is worth watching. New team composition rules get announced alongside it. Every participating group must include at least one high E-rank student. No exceptions. The team formation phase kicks off, and with it comes the announcement that all student ranks are now visible to everyone in the room. That single change turns the entire space into a live recruitment market. Everyone's scanning the list for who is worth picking up. Students get a range from highest rank straight down to lowest, and the Malong's eyes snag on something immediately. Chen stares at his own name sitting dead last on the entire list, genuinely confused about how that happened. Every head in the room swings toward him, because how does someone near grade C end up at the very bottom of anything? The jealous crowd does not waste a second, talking loud about how his high rank was clearly a system error and nothing more. Even so, and this clearly bothers him, they cannot actually deny that what he showed during the assessment was real. Having him on a team would absolutely move the needle on their score. Everyone in that room knows it. President Ting says nothing, just lets the whispers do their work. Whispers about the fool who turned down the president's offer and is now watching it come back to bite him. The architect behind all of this? His own Uncle Gong Xuan. The play was straightforward and cold. Tank Chen's ranking. Make him look worthless on paper, and watch everyone pass on inviting him. No invite means no qualification. No qualification means he never gets a shot at the president's team. Simple, calculated, and dirty. Rewind just a few hours earlier. Half the class practically lines up to beg President Ting for a spot on his team. The flattery is relentless, but it does not get far. Chung shuts them all down in one breath. One slot left. That is it. Back in the present, teams log in one by one across the room, and the weakest dorm ends up standing alone, completely untouched by anyone. Long throws his hands up and confirms what everyone can already see. They asked around, and nobody wants in. 4 members. Minimum requirement not met. They are sitting out the graduation test before it even starts. Long goes further, calling out exactly what everyone in that room already suspects. Chen's score did not land at the bottom by accident. With the selection rules requiring at least one high E rank, their entire group looks like it was engineered to fail from the start. This test is not just a grade. It is the moment guilds decide who is worth a contract and who gets forgotten. The format makes the numbers irrelevant too. More participants means more monsters. So bringing in dead weight is a liability, not a favor. That is exactly why the weak dorm has been blacklisted by every other group. 3 of the lowest ranked students all happen to be from the same room. The isolation is total, and then one student singles out Zuo and lays it on thick. They are one person short. And surely he is not serious about tanking his own future just to stay loyal to a losing team. Chen runs the math quickly in his head, and the outcome is not good. The way this is trending, all of them get left behind and the test happens without them. But Zuo does not even flinch. He turns the offer down flat. He is not leaving his roommates behind. Not for this. Not for anything. The other group storms off, irritated, but Zuo still finds a moment to tell them not to write people off so easily. Long pulls up the student list and does a quick sweep. Nearly every group is already locked in. 1 spot open. 0 takers. Chen shifts his gaze to the director and something clicks. Same family name as the student council president. And now watching these exact moves play out in real time, Ben has to ask himself whether Gong Xuan actually considers him that much of a threat. He is not sitting this out. He activates his lightning ability and steps forward, making one thing clear: he is competing. If they want to be open about the hostility, fine. He does not need to hold back either. He walks forward deliberately, and the officials in charge visibly react, caught off guard by the sudden flare of power filling the room. Even his own dorm mates exchange uncertain looks, not quite sure what he is about to do. Chen remembers the custom that every Awakener school runs on: Open challenges, anytime, any place, all designed to keep the competitive edge sharp. It might look like showing off from the outside, but in this world, putting your strength on display is how you get seen. Most people in that position would quietly back down and avoid the confrontation entirely. Chen already knows the council president is not built like that. Take down the blonde in front of everyone, and every student in that room will be scrambling to get on his team. Then the door opens and a girl steps through it, eyes landing directly on Chen, asking if he still has a spot available. She makes it clear she wants in on this year's graduation test. The vice president delivers her credentials straight. D rank by middle school, already cleared. She will not be a liability. The dorm erupts. His roommates are completely losing it, trying to figure out how he pulled this off. Zhang and Ting exchange a look. Neither of them saw this coming. The director inhales his water. The whispers spread fast. Why would an exchange student voluntarily attach herself to the worst-ranked team in the entire test? Nobody has solid information on her, but the rumor making the rounds is that she came from the Saint Kingdom. The director recovers quickly enough to step in. Exchange students are barred from participating in the school's graduation test. That is the rule, and it stands. He keeps going. Ling never sat a ranked test at this school, never established her rank through proper channels. Procedurally, she does not qualify. Then, without any warning, the principal walks in. The color drains from Gongshuan's face the moment he sees the old man in the doorway. The principal acknowledges the director's point calmly, then turns to Ling and asks why she even wants to join a test she will only be around for briefly. Chen, meanwhile, is quietly stunned. He cannot figure out how a warrior class just covered that distance without making a sound. The old man frames it simply. Her joining would not be fair to the other students. Ling takes the note without argument. Chen starts sweating. Something about the way these two carry themselves sets off every instinct he has, and then he realizes he cannot even begin to read their ranks. Neither of them is showing anything. Gongxuan straightens up and seizes the moment, backing the principal's position. A school without rules is not a school. The principal's tone shifts, just slightly, as he redirects the entire conversation. This institution exists to build Awakeners into something greater than what they walked in as. The graduation test is not just tradition. It is one of the most defining moments a student gets. He poses the question carefully. If a student is cut out of that moment because of rules that moved overnight, what exactly does the school owe them? Gongshuan starts sweating through his composure, wondering if the old man already knows exactly what he did. He turns it over in his mind. Is the principal doing all of this specifically for the kid? The risk calculation shifts fast. This is not worth the exposure. He reminds himself that the strongest students already locked in together. The outcome of the assessment is basically decided anyway. He bows, keeps his voice even, and delivers the apology. They fail to account for how these structures could quietly shut students out of opportunities they had every right to pursue. The announcement follows immediately. Lower-ranked teams and groups under 5 members are now cleared to participate. Fairness restored. The 4 dormmates finally come together and form their team, and the energy that breaks out between them is genuine. They are in. From the back of the room, the principal watches Ling and says what he is clearly thinking. She seems far too invested in that particular student. 2 teams take shape on opposite ends of the spectrum. The president commanding the strongest roster in the school, and Chen standing in front of the 3 lowest-ranked students on the list. The old man leans back, genuinely curious. Which cave do they pick, and what number do they walk out with? The official opens the floor. All team captains can now select their dungeon. Then his tablet pings, a selection already submitted, and it caught him completely off guard. The room detonates when they see which cave Chen chose. His own dormmates spin toward him in a panic, begging him to change it, asking if he even understood what he just locked them into. Chen says nothing. Eyes on the screen, completely still. The setup is straightforward. Teams enter a devil's cave, clear monsters, and rack up points. Monster lords add to the tally, and faster clear times boost it further. The dungeon difficulty then multiplies the whole thing. An F-rank cave maxes out at 75 points. An E-rank pushes that ceiling to 100. Highest scorer earns a scouting contract with the Imperial Guild. And the top individual player walks away with 1,000,000 yuan. Back in a selection room, students are already running the numbers. The all-time record is 90 points, set by the current Imperial Guild leader. Ting's stacked team is the first group in recent memory that might actually threaten it. And just to be clear about what E-ranks even demands, you need at least 3 solid D-ranks fighters at minimum just to have a realistic shot at clearing it. Then the board updates again. Another captain already locked in a selection. He looks at the screen and does not process it for a second. Chen chose a D-rank's dungeon. Nobody has ever cleared a D-rank. Not once. The room goes into full speculation mode. Did he misread the list? Was it an accident? Long stares at him and straight up asks if he took a hit to the head recently. The dorm king is completely unraveling. Staring at the screen, at Chen, back at the screen, unable to reconcile what he is seeing with any version of reality that makes sense. The nerd steps up and tries to talk Chen down from what is clearly a terrible idea. Chen stops him. This was not an impulse. He sat with this decision and thought it through completely. Then, the board pings again. The student council president just locked in the same D-rank cave. Ting's teammates fall in line without hesitation, confirming the selection and locking their team in. The classroom erupts, and Ting's crew does their best to look like this is all completely routine. The blonde goth girl wastes no time, calling Chen out for performing for the audience. For Red, this is pure attention-seeking, nothing more. The bald guy piles on. His teammates are too weak for this, and the team is going to collapse before it even starts. Long looks past the noise and studies Chen's face, and what he sees is not performance. Not even close. He starts to realize that the person standing in front of him is not quite the same guy he used to know, and he cannot pinpoint exactly when that changed. His mind made up. The nerd hits confirm, deciding that his trust in Chen is worth more than his fear. Yo follows immediately, figuring he has nothing left to lose anyway. The dorm king crosses his arms, visibly annoyed that the other two moved before him, then presses the button anyway. And just like that, the system officially puts their team in. Chen looks around at his roommates, and comes clean. He chose this dungeon because first place is the only thing he came here for. He's aware he is dragging them into something that is entirely his ambition, but he looks each of them in the eye and tells them they are getting there together. The president is on his feet before Chen even finishes, declaring that the top spot already has an owner, and it is not him. Chen turns and faces him directly, not a flinch. Ting lets his aura out, heavy and deliberate, and makes his position clear. One school, one strongest student, and that title is not up for debate. From the back of the room, Ling watches, and something about the raw emotion on display catches her off guard. She has not seen him carry himself like this before. The rivalry that everyone had been dancing around is now standing in the open, staring each other down. The principal watches the whole thing with quiet satisfaction. Students willing to go to war for what they want are exactly what this school is supposed to produce. Ling, however, is not at ease. A D-rank cave is not just difficult. It is the kind of place that a C-rank fighter cannot clear solo. And Chen's team is nowhere near that level. The point multiplier from a D ranks could push a score to 150, but the danger attached to that number is not a footnote. And his teammates, as much as they have grown, are simply not built for what is waiting inside that cave. The principal notes quietly that they have roughly a month. Meaningful improvement in that window, realistically, is not something the numbers support. But he keeps watching anyway, holding out for something the math cannot account for. 2 weeks later, the training grounds. Everyone is flat on the floor, completely emptied out. Long lifts his head just enough to ask the obvious question. Why are they grinding physical drills while every other team is running simulations? Chen has had them cycling through every form of physical conditioning imaginable, and the frustration has reached a boiling point. Chen breaks it down plainly. Simulation training does not prepare you for what actually happens. The first time someone steps inside a real devil cave, everything they rehearse disappears. The mind goes blank, and all that remains is instinct. Every rep, every sprint, every drill they have suffered through is sharpening those instincts. Faster reflexes, stronger movement, better reaction time. Real dungeon experience would be the ideal. Nothing teaches like the actual thing, but for people like them, that door has always been closed. Real dungeon access goes to elites, and those elites did not start from ordinary either, and they intend to keep it that way. Control the resources, control the ceiling for everyone else. These people sit on access to tools that commoners spend their entire lives grinding toward without ever quite reaching. The dorm king asks the real question, so what are people like them actually supposed to do with that? Chen lays it out. The Imperial Guild. Get in, and suddenly you are holding the lever that can shift the entire system. The graduation test is the one moment where the playing field does not automatically tilt away from them. This is what he has been building toward. He makes the promise out loud. They are winning this. All of them. Half a month out from the exam, Chen is inside the Void Tower every single night without exception. Hunting phantom lions is not something that gets easier fast, but getting slammed around brutally has never once made him consider stopping. 5 days out, his roommates are putting everything they have into their training sessions. Chen, though, is operating on a completely different frequency. His regimen makes the Hashira training arc look like light cardio. 2 days left, and his rival is clearly not coasting either, but the gap in improvement rate tells a story. Chen can now hold his ground against an entire pack of phantom lions under 10 times Earth's gravity, and he is doing it with blood on his face and no intention of stopping. He has never looked more ready. Exam day. Small drones hover alongside the participants, guiding each group toward their assigned entrances. The dorm boys walk in wearing matching outfits, looking sharper than anyone expected from them. Wristbands locked on every participant, and the exam is officially live. Back at the academy, the principal steps forward to greet Gonglan with a warm welcome. The polished, composed man standing before him is President Hing's father, one of the two people who built the Imperial Guild from the ground up. Students crane their necks and gawk like they have never been in the same building as someone important before. The energy spikes even further when both the principal and the guild co-founder turn to greet whoever just pulled up in the sleek white limo. The door opens. Red hair, calm eyes, unbothered energy. Carl Cavendish steps out, and the student section loses it completely. The World Guild Alliance's vice chairman, in person. Here, someone at that level does not show up to a student exam in this part of the world under normal circumstances. Up in the VIP room, the director walks the honored guests through the numbers. 23 teams are taking on F-rank slayers. Several opted for E-rank, and exactly 2 teams had the nerve to select D-ranks. Alliance Secretary Sigurd's surprise is visible. Even seasoned D-rank parties spend serious time preparing before they walk into a grade D layer. Students doing it is a different conversation entirely. She presses the question, did the Academy actually think through what it was signing these kids up for? The director holds steady and clarifies. Every student who made that selection understood exactly what they were agreeing to. He walks through the reality of it. Awakeners with no real combat experience are already stretched thin against F-rank monsters. The boss waiting at the end of the lair is the real wall, operating at a level that makes the regular mobs look like a tutorial. Most teams hit that wall and do not get back up. Inside an E-rank's lair, it gets worse. The basic mobs in there hit as hard as an F-rank's boss. That is the floor, not the ceiling. Students tend to understand it only once they are already inside. Sigrid follows up. What safeguards actually exist once things go sideways in there? The director makes the case that the Academy does not treat its most capable students as expendable. Every layer has an Imperial Guild warrior stationed outside, ready to move. The moment a situation crosses a line, they go in. On top of that, every wristband on every student's wrist serves as an emergency exit, instant teleport out, triggered either by the student choosing to tap out or by the system detecting a life-threatening situation. Sigrid is not fully convinced. She quietly wonders how long either of the D-ranks teams can realistically hold before those wristbands start lighting up. The director, on the other hand, is confident the E-rank teams will be sprinting back out well before anyone needs to intervene. Meanwhile, inside the D-ranks dungeon, massive trees wrapped in thick ice stretch in every direction, and Chen's roommates are not doing a great job of hiding how terrified they are. Hanging in the branches above them are creatures that look like someone fused a bat and a monkey and made it deeply unsettling. Chen keeps his voice low and direct. These things dive at full speed with no warning, so eyes up, no exceptions. Then, a whole flock of them peels off the canopy and drops straight down toward the group. And somehow, shockingly, all of them manage to throw themselves out of the way just in time. Lightning-fast strikes barely miss each of them by fractions. They are still riding the high of dodging a D-rank creature's attack when something else entirely kills the celebration. Chen is just standing there, lightning sword in hand, completely unbothered, and scattered around his feet are monster corpses that were apparently dealt with before anyone even noticed. He tells them plainly, focus on keeping yourselves alive, because right now, that is the ceiling of what they should be attempting. Everything else, he will handle. Another ghost monkey bat locks in and launches at the group at full speed. They throw themselves sideways just barely in time. The margin was not comfortable. Janzhou puts it together in that moment. Every brutal drill, every sprint session, every explosive movement exercise Chen made them suffer through was specifically for this. To survive exactly what just happened, Zhu grits his teeth and sits with an uncomfortable thought. He has been walking around calling himself Dorm King this whole time, and now his crowning achievement is depending on a roommate to carry the weight. Meanwhile, Chen sweeps through the remaining ghost monkeys without pausing. They come in at him in waves, and get cut down so fast, they practically had no time to register what happened before they were already gone. The Dorm King mutters to himself that Ma Long always talked about Chen being strong, but hearing it and actually watching it are two completely different things. Nothing about the way he moves reads like a student standing in a graduation exam. He looks like someone who has been doing this for a long time, and the slaughter just keeps going. Something uncomfortable stirs in the Dorm King as Chen's dominance becomes harder and harder to look away from. Then a monster drops in from behind the group with no warning, and barely gets his arms up in time to block the strike. He locks both flaming hands around the creature's leg, and turns to his teammates with a voice that cuts through the chaos, telling them straight that dead weight is not an option anymore and they need to wake up right now. This graduation belongs to all of them, not just Chen. The others look at him, and something in his sudden fire actually lands. Xing Zhuo pulls from that energy immediately and fires off his Florishant, Vienlock, and the monkey bat gets tangled up for about 1 second. Then it snaps free and kicks Zhuo square in the process. Long follows up with Cloud Chant, Frostbite Breeze, which shaves off just a bit of the creature's speed. Not enough alone, so they stop thinking separately and start moving as one. The combination works just long enough to hold it in place, and they scream at the Dorm King to take the opening. He pulls everything he has into a nuclear burst flame bullet. Direct hit, clean contact, but the result is a few singed hairs and a very alive, very angry monster. He fires several more rounds straight at it, and none of them do anything meaningful. Zuo and Long are already starting to run on empty, both of them pushing against the edge of their limits. The Dorm King makes the call. No more holding back. He pulls everything remaining into a converged burst flame bullet and lets it go. The explosion that follows lights up the entire section of the cave. When the smoke pulls back, only a charred skeleton is left standing. The drone's voice cuts in and confirms the kill. One D-class ghost monkey bat eliminated. All three of them drop to the ground where they stand, completely spent, but grinning, because they just took down a D-class monster with their own hands. Chen walks over, genuinely a little surprised. They immediately ask if he caught that, then notice the creature left behind a single finger bone as loot. Zuo leans back like it was nothing, casually claiming the whole thing was easy. Chen congratulates them anyway, and right on cue, the drone announces that every mob inside the Devil's Cave has been cleared. Back in the observation room, Director Gong is one bad camera angle away from losing his composure entirely. Watching those students with zero real combat background go toe-to-toe with a D-level threat that should be completely out of their range. Everyone else on staff keeps their mouths shut and their expressions neutral. Across the room, Vice Chairman Cavendish's assistant makes a quiet comment about Chen's performance, and he means it. Something about Chen's presence stirs a memory. He reminds the vice chairman of someone from a long time ago. Cavendish says the name out loud and files it away deliberately. That single act of acknowledgement sends immediate alarm through President Ting's father and the director right alongside him. The director pivots fast, steering everyone's attention toward the head count, inside the other D-Ranks cave specifically. He points out that Ting's team has already pushed into the midsection. The chairman's aide commends their coordination, drawing a direct comparison to a seasoned professional guild running a raid. Chairman Carl finds that genuinely amusing and remarks that this year's batch looks sharper than anything the Academy has put out in recent memory. Director Gong adds something quietly, almost to himself, that the real part of the show has not even started yet. Inside the D-Rank's Toxic Vine Cavern, President Ting's team gets swarmed by miasma poison mushroom monsters closing in from every angle. The guitar girl steps up and plays her Elegy of Decay, while the Star Mage threads the mushrooms together using his duo attraction ability, pulling them into a clean cluster. He calls for the captain and Ting moves forward, sword raised, ready to close it out. One strike, clean, precise, and the mushroom cluster detonates as the president executes his Blazing Sky Seaver without breaking stride. His team notes it almost immediately. These monsters match exactly what they drilled against in their prep sessions. The whole floor feels less like a challenge and more like a rehearsal they already ran. That was by design and they know it. The right backing means the path gets smoothed out in advance. With that assumption running in the background, the celebration starts early. As far as they are concerned, first place is already decided. Back in the Cloud Forest, final level, the boys cannot fully believe they are actually still standing here, looking at the lair boss entrance. In the center of a frozen wasteland, a ghost ape sits completely unbothered, eating like it owns the place. The Dorm King's palm starts sweating immediately. Just gauging the thing's frame tells him everything he needs to know. One open-handed slap from that creature, and he is done. The ape shifts its gaze slowly, and somehow it lands directly on the weakest presence in the group. Ma Long panics, and the sound that comes out of him is exactly enough to flip the switch on the beast. It launches into the air with a leap that shakes the ground on landing, and the boys run like their continued existence is actively on the line, because it is. Chen does not run. He charges straight toward it, jumps directly into its face, and drives a full-force kick into it, then flows straight into a relentless chain of strikes, keeping its enormous body off balance and in the air. He closes it out by tearing the thing apart. What used to be a ghost ape is now distributed across a fairly wide radius. Nobody in the party says anything for a moment. They just stare. Chen, for his part, is more annoyed than impressed. Not even D-rank monsters are giving him the experience curve he needs. The loot situation is not helping either. Then his teammates start yelling from somewhere nearby. They found giant mana stones. Turns out the ghost ape had been keeping them stashed inside a hollow tree trunk. The three of them light up and reach out for the crystals like they have never seen anything so beautiful in their lives. Chen shouts the warning, but the second their fingertips make contact with the mana stones, a blinding flash detonates outward in every direction. The entire area locks up in ice within seconds. Shang Zuo, Long, and even the drones are completely frozen solid in the Arctic blast. In the VIP room, the live feed goes dark. The director's reaction tells its own story. A slow, satisfied smirk from someone who saw this coming and was quietly waiting for it. High-rank monsters set traps. It was always just a matter of time before a group of amateurs walk right into one. Vice Chairman Cavendish's expression goes the other direction entirely. He is not happy about this. and his concern for the students' safety is obvious. The director summons his best fake regret and declares there is no choice but to pull them out immediately. The principal does not agree. He points to the wristbands. None of the vital readings have crossed into critical territory, and not a single student has pushed the surrender trigger. As long as that holds, the decision belongs to the people inside, not the people watching. Inside the dungeon, Ma Long stands alone in the biting cold, shivering and scanning his frozen teammates. Out of everyone in the group, he is the only one still moving. His class's natural ice resistance is the only reason he is not a statue right now. Then a laugh cuts through the silence, deep, slow, and cold enough to match the air around him. And it is coming from somewhere close. Long turns, and there it is, a skeletal ice monster staring directly at him with a kind of emptiness that makes your instincts scream. He knows exactly what he is looking at, the lord of this lair. The monster compendium entry surfaces in his memory almost immediately. Cloud Mage. Dual function. Offense and defense running simultaneously. Ice and snow bending to its will without any visible effort, and the name that comes with it makes things worse, the Bone King of Remains. A creature that does not just kill its prey, it drags the process out on purpose. The ice bomb was never loot, it was bait, and they walked straight into it. Long spins and bolts immediately, because he has exactly zero illusions about surviving a C-class Lord monster one-on-one. He drives toward Chen's frozen form, trying to get him out. Then an ice attack punches clean through his leg before he can even close the distance. The Bone King lets out a slow, satisfied laugh. Long's bracelet fires off a warning, registering the full damage. Leg pierced through and puts the option to abandon the exam right in front of him. He ignores it. He keeps crawling toward Chen anyway because losing their only real fighter is not something he can accept. Then a second ice shard drives through his arm. His body gives out before his will does. He cannot reach Chen no matter how hard he pushes. The Bone King settles in and watches, savoring every second of Long's suffering, letting the pain build before doing anything else. The bracelet registers the arm hit, flags the dangerous spike in his heart rate, and offers him the exit again. Instead of taking it, Long falls into a memory. He sees himself over and over turning his back the moment things got hard, every single time. Running before the situation could get worse, and every single time, that choice left him further behind. The faces come back too. The people who laughed at him, dismissed him, treated him like background noise. But he and his friend put in real work to reach this exact point, and none of that was easy. This moment, right here, half frozen and bleeding on the floor, is the one that decides whether any of it meant something. He digs into whatever is left at the bottom of his reserves, gets back on his feet and reaches Chen. The ice breaks. Chen is free. He holds his ground as the Bone King stops waiting and fires a full barrage of icicles straight at him. The volley closes in, and Long roars into it. Chen's eyes snap open at that exact second. The ice block around him explodes outward. In one fluid motion, he scoops Long up and pulls him clear. Fast enough that the Bone King does not even register the escape until it has already happened. The creature stares, caught completely flat-footed. Long blinks through the chaos and realizes Chen did not need him to succeed. He broke out of the ice himself. Long just bought him the time to do it. Chen checks Long first, concern cutting right through the adrenaline, making sure he is actually okay. Long gives him the short version. Bleeding is under control for now. He will hold together. Then he locks in and delivers the intel. Cloud type, C-rank Lord, the Bone King. And it is brutal in a fight. That much has already been proven. Most importantly, if that freezing hits them again, they are done. No second chances. They turn back and the Bone King has already started charging, pulling ice shards together into something massive. A glacier attack forming fast and building in size. Long stares at the scale of it and puts together exactly what is about to happen. The ice nuke drops, and the entire area goes white. The Bone King laughs into the aftermath. Then the sound cuts off. Both of them are still standing. Chen shifts into Doom Flame King and triggers Cloud Warrior Frost Body. Cold immunity, fully active, 0 damage taken. Every resistance stat climbs in the frozen environment, and the battlefield that was built to destroy them just became his home turf. The Bone King lets out a shriek, the sound of something that just realized the fight changed. Long watches from behind, completely thrown. Because Chen was a Volt Assessor, and what is standing in front of him right now is clearly a Cloud-type warrior, different class, completely. His mind goes to the only explanation that makes sense. Could Chen actually be one of those near-mythical dual-class Awakeners? Chen glances back and acknowledges the mistake. He misjudged what was waiting in this dungeon. His friends are here because he made that call, and he is not pretending otherwise. Then he shifts again, Abyssal Fiend this time, pulls out the Purgatory Warrior's sword and fixes his eyes on the Bone King with one intention. Long's jaw physically drops. Every Awakener gets one class. That is the rule. One specialization, one path. The rare exception, so rare it barely registers in recorded history, is someone born with two simultaneously. Guilds go to war over individuals like that, but that is not even the part that broke Long's brain. He watched carefully. He counted, not one, not two, three separate classes, each one standing on its own at an elite level. 3. In abyssal fiend form, Chen's stats do not gradually increase. They detonate upward. The sheer physical output launches him off the ground like a fire cannon. He closes the distance to the boss in an instant, and the Bone King's smug expression dissolves the moment Chen's killing aura hits it directly. One motion, one cut. The Bone King splits apart like it was never a threat. Level 17, rare loot drop confirmed. Long stands over the scattered remains, still unable to process that a Sea-Crank Lair Lord just got one shot, just absolutely ended without a second exchange. Chen casually points out that their teammates are still frozen solid somewhere nearby. Long's expression shifts instantly, complete ochre moment. He completely forgot about the others for the entire duration of that boss fight. He takes off immediately to get them out before the situation crosses from frozen to something worse. The moment Long disappears around the corner, Chen notices the Gluttony option sitting right in front of him. Consume the Frost Lich came. No drones, no witnesses. He absorbs the Fallen Lord without hesitation, and the Cloud Mage class is added to his roster. The Bone King's Arctic Nova wiped out every drone in the vicinity when it detonated, which means nobody in the observation room saw any of this. And the hidden ability stays buried. Then another notification hits before he can even breathe. His Lightning Assassin class has leveled up on top of everything else. With it comes a stat enhancement slot, 1 star to assign wherever he wants it. The scene cuts to the D-Rank's Gloomvine Grotto. The Council President's team is getting taken apart. Every attack they throw lands, but the D-Rank's boss does not care. It is built to outlast amateurs, and that is exactly what it is doing. The mage burning energy to keep the boss's movement restricted is already at the edge of collapse, and the lightning archer's arrows are hitting about as hard as a back rub. The whole team is getting thrown around like cheap toys at the bottom of a clearance bin. Every simulation they ran, every rehearsed combo they drilled, none of it built them for this. The doubt creeping in is starting to look justified. Nothing in their training came close to this level. The mage takes a step back from the chaos and arrives at the obvious conclusion. The president is the only real option left. In the backline, Tang strikes his stance, making the moment as theatrical as possible. He pulls his ultimate skill up to full charge while the support mages stack buffs onto him, everything loaded. He launches himself at the boss, blazing sword forward. The blade punches through its core, and the heat works its way outward from the inside. His team erupts, cheering like they just made history, already writing themselves into the record books. The drone calls it Grade D layer cleared. Time logged at just over 30 minutes. Fully charged and completely convinced, the team walks out certain that first place is already theirs. There is no scenario in their heads where another team beats that. They push through the exit, expecting to see their names sitting at the very top. Glowing, undisputed, the halls are packed with students who tapped out early and teleported out rather than finish. Most of them look like they aged several years in a short amount of time, still carrying the blank stare of people who met something they were not ready for. That is when the president's lackey clocks Chen and his crew sitting off to the side. One look at their beat-up, exhausted state tells what the lackey thinks is the whole story. They folded the second the dungeon pushed back. The lackey saunters over with that particular brand of confidence that belongs to people who have never been wrong in their own heads, and immediately opens with the obvious dig, all that attitude at the start, and they could not even make it through. Incredible, the lackey keeps going. But one look from the president shuts the whole performance down, because the Alliance vice chairman is walking directly toward them, and now is not the time. Cavendish approaches unhurried, clapping slowly, and delivers his congratulations on the performance inside the dungeon. Each step forward builds the weight of the moment. The president keeps his face composed while the people standing behind him look like they are actively fighting the urge to pass out from proximity to someone this powerful. Ting moves first, extends his hand, confident, practiced. Cavendish walks straight past it, does not slow down, does not look. The handshake that never happened does more damage than any punch could. The president's pride takes a quiet, clean hit that nobody in that hallway missed. Then the vice chairman does something that makes it worse. He calls out to Chen loudly enough for everyone nearby to hear, and the word he uses is legend. His hand lands on Chen's shoulder and he makes the announcement plainly. D-rank dungeon. Cleared in 20 minutes flat. No professional team in his own guild has ever posted a number like that. The president and every member of his crew go completely silent. Their brains are stuck on the same impossible math. 4 bottom-of-the-list nobodies, no backing, no resources, and they outran a full 10-person squad on a D-ranks clear. Chen does not react to any of it. Praise from the most powerful man in the country registers about as much as background noise to him, though he does find himself quietly turning over the question of why someone at this level bothered showing up to a student exam at all. Carl Cavendish wraps it up simply. Chen's name is one he will not be forgetting. Then he turns toward Gong Lin, the man whose invitation brought him here. and tosses over a brief acknowledgement that his son showed some talent too. The kind of compliment that technically says something and means almost nothing. Both father and son absorbed that in silence, and neither of them was particularly good doing it. With that, the vice chairman announces he is done here and moves to leave. The director slides in fast to manage the damage. He steps up and delivers the final results. Both top teams have tied on score, and as a result, both groups will receive official Imperial Guild invitations. That announcement hits Chen's roommates like a lottery notification. Imperial Guild membership was a dream 24 hours ago, and now it is just their reality. Ting's crew start celebrating too, but the president himself is standing completely still, and he is not happy. The director keeps going. Both captains earn management roles within the guild, and the $1 million prize gets split down the middle. Both team leaders react. The news clearly lands differently than either of them expected. Shen runs the numbers quickly, and they do not add up the way he needs them to. $500,000 falls short of what he owes. The Mithril Exchange Guild deal still needs the full amount, and now he has to find another way to close that gap. But the point may already be moot. Because President Ting is not accepting a tie, he says it directly and without hesitation. A one-on-one duel decides the real winner. One champion, no split, no compromise. The challenge lands like a thunderclap. The director's attention snaps toward it immediately, and so does the vice chairman's mid-exit. The director pivots fast, pulling his nephew aside and quietly pushing him to take the tie and walk away. He lays it out plainly. A draw after everything that happened today is already the best position Ting could realistically be standing in. He stands easy, fully expecting Chen to turn the duel down and end the conversation there. Chen accepts immediately and attaches one condition: whoever wins walks away with the full $1 million. That single twist is spicy enough to stop Cavendish's departure completely. He turns back around. Chen steps forward and closes the distance between them, ready to end this the only way it was ever going to end between them.